Street prostitution. It's the oldest industry in the world. Here in New Zealand, it's been legal for more than a decade. But every time a girl walks out onto this Manchester street corner, she's putting her life at risk. Beatings, sexual assaults, even murder, all not unheard of on Manchester Street. Tonight on Street Stories, we start to unravel some of these issues post-earthquake in Christchurch.
Manchester Street on a Friday night. As cars go up and down, several women wave out. They are Christchurch's sex workers, working the street as they've done so, night after night for weeks, months, and as we found out, some for even decades. During the day it's a different scene. The girls are still out on the road, but they are few and far between. 49-year-old Tans has been a prostitute since she was 22. We met her halfway down Manchester Street as she went about her business. She told me she had just finished servicing a client.
Yeah. See what I mean? Yeah.
You get that a lot?
Yeah. They're lovely. You know, they beep at you and wave at you. You know if they were serious, the only time they beep at you, they're waving at you. And then you get others who go, you dirty slut, $5, get fat, go to Spurbank.
At the start of her career, Tans loved the job and the money. She would work almost every day, but she relied on alcohol to get through the night.
Because all my life I've always got drunk, because when I get to work I'm drunk as a skunk.
Mother of one, Crystal, last worked on the streets 15 years ago, when prostitutes could face criminal charges. Back then she had her own vice, drugs. Even now she has a few drinks before she starts work.
I've had three tonight, yeah. So, yeah, just a little bit of a numbing and to take the edge off the cold.
Her financial situation has forced her to once again stand on a street corner. She works a few nights a week, doing her best to earn enough to send her special needs child to school. During her time on the street, she admits to racking up thousands of clients.
I won't say it's quick and easy, but it can be a quick way to make money. And, you know, when you've got to pay the power and put food on the table for the kids and provide an education for them, yeah, it's a quick way of getting it.
Instead of driving away clients, the earthquakes have meant a boost for the industry.
There are prostitutes moving in from out of town onto Manchester Street.
With thousands of rebuild workers coming to Christchurch, Tans and the other prostitutes are never short of work.
Oh, they're just after a bit of fun or sex or whatever you give. They ask you what's the flavour of the night, you tell them they either do this or that or you do the whole lot.
And the clients are spending up large. On a good night, a girl can make at least $1,000.
How much would a girl make in an hour?
In an hour? Ooh, between $150 to $200. It all depends on what the job is. Could be $300. It all depends.
You know, your standard charges, some girls do hand for 40 and it goes all the way through to sort of maybe 200 an hour.
With the boost in work, new girls have started working the streets and more experienced women are coming out of retirement.
I get builders, plumbers, I get businessmen, I get men from the street, I've done a judge and I've done a lawyer.
And after all that, how do you feel when you think about your job?
I try not to think about it. Pretty dirty. Yeah, get out the scrubbing brush. You try not to dwell on it too much.
It's a dangerous world on the streets. Before the earthquakes, 3 prostitutes had been killed within 3 years. 2 recent assaults have scared off a number of girls, but not Tans.
But I'm very wary of things, you know, like you don't think, oh shit, it's not going to happen to you. You're always on the guard, you're always on the watch.
Crystal's also nervy about working at night.
You've really got to be on your toes, you've got to, you know, look out for yourself and really listen to your instincts. Yeah, if you don't have good street smarts, you could get in a lot of trouble.
Last month, during 26-year-old Moha Fawcett's trial into the murder of sex worker Mallory Manning, a prostitute was attacked in the grounds of this Manchester Street church. That same night, another girl was sexually assaulted on an empty section in Bailey Avenue between Manchester and Madras Streets. One of the girl's minders was shocked to hear about the assaults.
Yeah, but I wasn't here when that happened, so it wouldn't have happened if I was around, but it did. So
Do you think it shook the girls up?
yeah, it did. A lot of the girls haven't been coming out because of it.
Christchurch police have been increasing their patrols in an effort to keep the girls safe.
We have to consider too that it is a legal profession to be a prostitute, so we don't want to have lots of patrol cars around all the time, because obviously that upsets them.
Gary's been a minder for 25 years. After the recent assaults, he spent most nights keeping an eye on the girls. He's a large and intimidating character, but behind the beard, he's a bit of a softie. He's not one to throw punches.
I'm a bit intimidating for them, and a big guy like me. And no, I'm more of a gentle giant, really. I help out all I can, and if I'm not out on the fishing bait, I'm out here helping out the ladies.
Since the assaults, Tans has only been working during the day, but after more than 2 decades of street prostitution, she knows only too well the dangers of the job.
I actually got raped about 4 months ago and bashed, and I find that wasn't very nice, and I'm just trying to get over it, so I haven't been working that much.
Despite her horrible experience, she hasn't considered working from indoors.
Yes, it is safe to do brothels, but if you're willing to come out here, it's better for you because you get the straight out money. With brothels, they take half your money off you.
I reckon that brothels should be made for the girls that work out here so they're safer. Like, their prices are ridiculous, and that's why the girls don't go to brothels, and because they get treated like crap, which is understandable. Well, it literally happens out here too, but not as bad as what would happen in a brothel.
The job is too nasty and dangerous for Gary's liking.
I wouldn't like to do it if I was a woman. Rather get a job, really. Get out there and do something for the society of Christchurch, yeah.
One of Canterbury's top doctors, Alistair Humphrey, is worried new girls arriving to work in the city could cause tension. He's proposing to regulate minders to keep violence levels down.
We've seen minders use dogs as weapons, and we've seen sex workers use minders as weapons. We really don't want to see that happening on the street here.
He would also like to see a licensing system for working girls so they can be properly looked after.
So that A, we could check that they were appropriately looked after, that they had accommodation if they needed it, and that we knew the numbers of people working on this street and we could regulate that. I think the environment would be safer for the sex workers themselves, for their clients, and for the community that lives around them.
Controversial former Christchurch City Councillor Aaron Kewen shares that view.
You need checks and balances. Some people say, yeah, they're just street prostitutes. Still someone's daughter. They're still a human being, and they need a form of respect.
Dr. Humphrey's worried some of the girls are offering unprotected sex for a higher price.
There are many vulnerable sex workers who offer services without a condom in the hope that they can earn more money. That, for one thing, is illegal, but nobody ever gets prosecuted for it. It's illegal both for the sex worker and the sex worker's client.
If you're willing to pay a little bit more, you can do it without a condom.
Oh, no. Oh, if we hear anything like that down here, mate, nah, it's not a pretty sight. Let's just say that. If we find anything like that happening down here, the girls aren't allowed to do jobs like that. They're not allowed at all. That's disrespect to yourself and disrespect to the girls.
How often do you get asked to do it without a condom?
Some nights a few, some nights not at all, but they shouldn't be asking it. The girls should be educated on how dangerous it is.
So how dangerous is life working on the streets? I put that question to Anna Reid, a former sex worker who co-founded the New Zealand Prostitutes Collective 25 years ago. We met on a special seat outside St Luke's Church. It's in the memory of all the women who've lived, worked and died on Manchester Street.
So what are the risks working on the street?
Well, there are always risks on the street because people do get into cars with people they haven't met before. The risks can be from the passers-by who sometimes throw things at people and yell abuse. There are a lot of people that are living in Christchurch now from other cultures who don't have the respect for women, or certainly sex workers, that we would expect.
Is the Prostitutes Collective concerned about the recent violence?
Hugely concerned. And we're glad that it gets reported to the police, because once upon a time people might have just taken it as part of the job, or they would have felt, certainly before the laws changed, that they weren't really able to because they were doing something kind of illegal and the police wouldn't really treat them seriously. So Yeah, it's great that they went to the police.
Is it scary though in the sense that it brings it back to Mallory Manning, what happened with her just a few years ago?
It does. And for me, a sadness is that a lot of people on the street now don't have any recollection of that. Younger ones that are coming through, they didn't know her, they weren't too aware of what was happening in the media at the time.
I suppose one of the reasons why the seat is here, 3 murders in 3 years, it's not good.
No, it's not good. Question should be asked about these men that commit this kind of violence, I think, rather than women putting themselves in dangerous situations. I mean, the second one, he had significant mental health problems. It wasn't a trial because he pled guilty, and he was just one of those people that are out there in the community, and there are a lot of them, that are a danger to anybody, not just sex workers.
Is there a connection between the violence on the streets and organised crime?
Well, it was pretty clear in the trial for Mallory Manning that there was a drugs debt there. But, what's a few $100s when you're talking about somebody's life? I think that there's, crime comes and goes on the street, and sometimes there's gang involvement, sometimes there isn't, sometimes there are young underages, sometimes there aren't. It's fairly fluid.
Coming up, I find out underage prostitution is no secret on one of Christchurch's most notorious streets.
Is underage prostitution a problem down in Christchurch, do you think? How big is it?
It's massive. A lot of the girls are only like 14, 15, and we know that, but mate, they want to do it, they're doing it. If they, like we've got a motto on here, if you've got it, flaunt it, sell it. Good on you,
In Christchurch, underage prostitution is not hidden from view. While the 17-year-old was busy working Manchester Street, her mother was across the road, keeping an eye on her.
You're not a bad mother?
No, not at all. No, I don't think so. She's got the body for it, she's got the talent, intelligence for it. If she wants to do that, that's her choice. I can't say no because I did the stuff myself when I was younger. So I can't be a hypocrite and say, no, you can't do this.
Is underage prostitution a problem down in Christchurch, do you think? How big is it?
It's massive. A lot of the girls are only like 14, 15, and we know that, but mate, they want to do it, they're doing it. If they, like we've got a motto on here, if you've got it, flaunt it, sell it. Good on you,
How bad do you think underage prostitution is?
Oh, it's shocking. It is. Since prostitution's been legalised, it's good because now we can ring the police for, get them off the street. They shouldn't be out here. They don't know how dangerous it is, and they've got no idea what they're getting into. They should not be out here.
Christchurch police know about the issue of underage prostitution. They say if the young person wants to be there, it's a hard thing to stamp out.
The aim for us is to take them off the street and remove them from that situation. Obviously there's a whole lot of background issues that cause them to be there, so that's what we look at from that point of view. If there's someone who's running them or managing them, then that person will be prosecuted.
The 17-year-old sex worker's mother is an ex-prostitute herself. She started living and working on the streets when she had nowhere else to go.
How old were you when you first started working here on the street?
I was 13.
13?
Yeah.
Tough time?
Yeah, but it was easier. Like you just stand out on the street and got a job just like that. Whereas now the cars go up and down, because people just don't have the money.
She looks after 10 girls at a time, but she doesn't see herself as a pimp.
As a minder, how much would you make?
Oh no, I don't make anything. I do it all for nothing. Yeah, I just make sure that my girls are safe. And you get your perks, of course, because we're family, but don't get paid for it, not at all.
And why is it so important to you that these girls are safe?
Because it would break my heart if something bad happened to them. I've known them since they were little girls, so I've got a really good friendship with them. Yeah, definitely. They call me Mama.
She's been living on the streets for more than a decade, but she wants a place to call home for her family and her daughter to find a better job.
Do you hope she'll do something else, or is this her life?
No, she will. No, well, she hasn't been doing it for that long. Like, she's only just come back out because we want to get us a real house. The only way to do that is to get the bond, and if you show a landlord rent money, they'll take you in straight away. And that's what we've been doing. But otherwise, until then, she's going to stop. She's not allowed to do it anymore. She's not going to do it anymore. It's over.
Dr. Alistair Humphrey says underage prostitution comes as no surprise to him. He believes the younger girls on the street are the most vulnerable and housing should be made available.
there's less housing for young women. So often women who have nowhere to go end up on the streets trying to earn money. Often their literary skills aren't particularly good, so reading and writing for them is difficult, getting other jobs is difficult for them. So they're very much at the bottom of the pecking order in our society.
You've heard just one example of underage prostitution, but how widespread is it?
It exists. It always has, and numbers go up and down. You'll get SIFs runaways, you get the police looking for them, social workers looking for them, we all share information, and then there'll be a time when there's none, and then somebody else might bring a friend in to the street, which, you know, we don't like to see at all, but that happens.
We've been told girls as young as 13 are working on the street.
It has happened from time to time, and then there are long periods of time when no young people are seen.
We've also spoken to the mother of a 17-year-old who pimps her daughter out. What's the collective's view on that?
Well, it's an unfortunate situation, and very unfortunate situation. Yeah. It's happened before, and it will probably happen again.
Is there anything wrong with a 17-year-old selling her body so her mother can use the profits to rent a house? Barrister Stephen Rollo says legally the mother could be charged.
Can a mother pimp out her 17-year-old daughter?
No, absolutely not. The law makes it quite clear that girls between 16 and 18 involved in the prostitution industry can't be held liable. However, anybody that's using the services of a girl of that age, or anyone who is employing or prostituting out a girl of that age, is liable to imprisonment for up to 7 years. So, a 7-year penalty indicates that Parliament takes it very seriously, and that's reflected in the Act.
If underage prostitution is happening on the streets, whose job is it to make sure that these people are being held to account?
Well, the police and SIFs and the youth police, if we see somebody that is missing, we will tell, there's a certain network that work together. But they often, they want to be here, and so they'll often see certain cars they recognise and hide, and then come out when that car's gone on. It's not easy.
Police need to investigate those sorts of things and prosecute people where they can, because so long as there is a demand for girls of that age, then girls of that age will be out there providing those services. So that's where I think the law appropriately targets the people using those services, or the people that are financially gaining from those services.
After the break, sex workers are accused of causing a stink in the residential end of Manchester Street.
If I'm going down to the dairy, I daren't look in the gutter, and there's tissues and papers, and it's just, unpleasant.
2011's big earthquake locked off the central city, forcing sex workers to move into the residential half of Manchester Street. Even as parts of the central city reopened, the prostitutes kept working outside of homes where they felt safer. This caused anger among the community. Last August, CTV News interviewed residents so frustrated and frightened that they wouldn't reveal their identities.
I choose personally not to be scared. However, many people in the neighbourhood will not leave their properties in the evening.
Well, it's not so much the prostitutes, it's clients and their minders who sit around in the cars. And then if I'm going down to the dairy, I daren't look in the gutter, and there's tissues and papers, and it's just, unpleasant.
The ongoing things are disorderly behaviour, intimidation. I have been walking my dog at night. It's been kicked several times by sex workers.
There's children asleep at night, there's elderly that live on their own, so on and so forth, and it's unacceptable to have that kind of trade taking place because there's no checks and balances.
Controversial former Christchurch City Councillor Aaron Kewen, angry with the lack of action, put up signs which kept the sex workers off the streets.
It did the job for 48 hours. There was no one working down here because they all believed the signs.
But the signs were deemed illegal, and council staff quickly pulled them down.
Once they were ripped down by the Christchurch City Council, it was like nobody really cares about our plight.
I think it's really sad that they've been taken down. I mean, it ruins this area, and good on them for doing that.
Aaron Kearns' signs noted the Summary Offences Act, nothing to do with prostitution. To us, he's a hero.
None of the prostitutes I spoke to would admit to working in the residential side of Manchester Street. Tan says it's not fair on homeowners.
You got to have a bit of respect for people's wishes, because if you're going to do this job, you've got to be able to put up with things that you shouldn't do. I don't believe in it anyway.
Residents have been complaining of tissues, condoms and faeces. Business owners in the CBD side of Manchester Street complain of the same issues. And while filming, we came across this fresh pile. Nearby, used tissues line the gutter.
Oh, stuff that. Oh, no, I couldn't do that. No, not that dirty.
But do you think some are doing that?
Oh, there probably are, the dirty buggers. It might be men that are doing it too.
Complaints of faeces, condom stuff, it's unacceptable?
Absolutely unacceptable, and they're justified complaints by the residents, and so that's why I acted on them when I was the representative for the area.
I live in the central city. I see condoms all over the place, which is, to a certain extent, it's not particularly pleasant. But from a public health perspective, I find it quite reassuring that at least they are using condoms.
I do understand where they're coming from, and that's why I think, bring the girls closer back to town and give us, the services that we need, provide rubbish bins, provide receptacles. I understand the dirty condoms and the dirty syringes, so provide us somewhere to go where the girls can get rid of their condoms.
Who is at fault here? What rights do the residents, business owners and prostitutes have?
Well, we only hear about the complaints, so it would sound as though they all hated it. Having said that, we've recently met a resident that worked on a particular corner that has a lot of complaints coming from it, and he said he's perfectly happy for them to be there. He doesn't mind at all. So, as with many things, you only hear one side.
But they've got to point, some of these residents, though, don't they? No one wants condoms and faeces, which have been some of the complaints, outside their homes or in their gardens.
I know, and it's always put down to the sex worker. Now, those of us that have done street outreach, and I've done it for many years, have witnessed people walking home. Nowadays they come down from Beeley Avenue, from the Spates Beer House, walk along Manchester Street, drunk as, peeing in doorways and at gateways. We see it, It's all put down to the sex workers, who may well be doing those sort of behaviours, but it's not only them.
When we do get those complaints, if there is an offence, then we'll deal with it. Often there's not an offence. It's an issue that's being worked on by the council, by the police. There was a big meeting in November between all interested parties, residents, police, council, the prostitutes, and we're working through an accord to get something in place so that they can work safely, so that residents aren't upset.
So who's right and who's wrong?
Well, the girls have got a right to ply their trade. Residents have obviously got other rights. They've got a right to control who comes onto their property, the terms upon which someone comes onto their property and so forth. So the girls are free to ply their trade on the road, but they can't be dropping litter, defecating in a public place, climbing fences and plying the trade inside private property.
It's not so much what she's doing, it's the noise that she attracts, the cars going by, the car doors, and sometimes they're very unaware of anything around them, so they'll scream and yell at each other across the road, and in a talking kind of fashion. But most have come back across, and currently the road is definitely being dug up, and so there's no access. So hopefully the cycle will be broken.
The Christchurch City Council, the CDHB and the Prostitutes Collective are working to make the CBD end of Manchester Street safer with extra security cameras. The council's also consulting the public about setting up facilities like portaloos to address the problem of defecation on the street. Next week, the New Zealand Prostitutes Collective is running a lunchtime seminar called Sex in the City. This forum will discuss the state of the sex industry, displacement, new initiatives and other earthquake-related changes. June marks 11 years since street prostitution was decriminalised, but the sex industry is still not accepted by everyone. Did we get it right by decriminalising prostitution?
The whole idea of that Prostitution Reform Act is harm minimisation. We have to accept that whatever our personal viewpoint might be on prostitution, it has always existed and it will always exist. And there will always be girls that are going to go out and work the streets. And if we try and prohibit that and push it underground, then we're just getting back to the same model we had in the past, where there are a whole lot of consequential problems that arise only because the activity is unlawful.
Did we get the law wrong? Should street prostitution not have been made legal? Should it have just been restricted to brothels because of the danger?
No. As I said, they'll always come out. I mean, there are people that work in brothels that also work on the streets, and we want people to be able to work safely and in the security of the police umbrella. And if you outlaw them, that won't work.
Prostitution will always be controversial. Some people support the idea of the girls making a living working on the streets, but others would rather the issue was hidden from view. But as Tans puts it, before people start to judge the girls, why don't they give it a go themselves? It's a tough world out there as a Christchurch prostitute. And that's this week's Street Stories.